All right. Well, for our second topic, it's actually somewhat related to Elon Musk. SoFi and Robinhood are offering ambitious new ways for retail investors to buy SpaceX and OpenAI and other unicorns before they go public. SoFi, as detailed by Bloomberg and others, have launched a private market fund that lets anyone invest as little as $10 to gain exposure to companies like SpaceX and OpenAI. Nearly 11 million users have apparently done this, and their shares have jumped 4% on the news. Meanwhile, Robinhood has rolled out a tokenized stock product for European users, not in the US, which allows you to buy tokens that represent a piece of SpaceX, OpenAI, and so on. OpenAI, interestingly, has come out and said, hey, these are not OpenAI equity. We're not participating. This has nothing to do with us.
Is it like fake OpenAI? It's basically betting on the popularity of OpenAI?
Look, I've heard it described as betting. The way I understand it is they have some pool of OpenAI equity and SpaceX equity that they've acquired, right, in secondary markets.
So they're doing it and they're trying to max their investment.
Well, they're tokenizing it, right? So they take that
okay.
asset, that underlying asset, they're tokenizing it, and then they're making it available on a Robinhood to buy. And, the argument is, well, this is not real ownership of their stock, and this is not the same thing, and it's really like more of a bet. It's just sort of, it's just a few degrees of indirection. So someone has the asset, and they're offering it as tokens on Robinhood. Yes, it's not in the direct ownership on the stock market. It's not a direct, share certificate. But, through a chain of custody, I think it's, the next best thing. The real question here, I think, is what is the point of the stock market when companies like Robinhood can disintermediate it and offer their own fractionalized ownership of anything, either through blockchain or through just basic normal databases? And what guardrails, if any, should be applied to retail investors, piling in? There's kind of this thought of retail investors need to be protected, and then there's this other thought of retail investors deserve democratized access to the same assets that insiders have. And there's this tension between the two. At least there's a narrative of a tension between the two.
I think it's an interesting concept, and I think there's a difference between betting on something and there being a meme token around. It's like using the idea of I'm betting that OpenAI is gonna hit this and I make money on that. That's one thing. The tokenization, element. I'm surprised it's actually legal. There must be some legalities around that. I mean, in the end, if you think about it, if it's like and I wonder if you think this is the same comparison, like a SPV,
Yep.
Special, what's it called?
Special purpose vehicle.
So, of course, and many people listening or watching probably know this here, but if you have a bunch of people that can't afford the minimum check for an investment that is $150 up to over $1 million, then you can put in as much as you want, and like someone's kind of managing that. Like, I think that's where it needs to be, where it's saying that either we already pre-invested this, buy a certain amount of it to join in as a percentage owner, right? So like, I think this is as legal as they're trying to get with that without it being you actually owning that piece of stock. Like, if that made sense, where we bought this much stock, how much stock Robinhood has, and you're going to own an X percent of it.
That's the idea.
That is an idea. Again, and I think this is a new model, as long as it feels legal, and you're not going to get fucked over, basically.
Yeah, I mean, this is essentially SPV at scale, right? So just to catch up the audience, for anyone who doesn't know, an SPV stands for special purpose vehicle. It's basically a company you create, and that company buys a piece of equity in a private company, in whatever, in a house, in a project, an investment, and then you buy shares in the company. And so it's a way of kind of getting together to invest in something larger.
More people together for a larger amount that you wouldn't otherwise be able to afford. So I think if you look at it like that, it's really cool. And I give credit to, a company like Robinhood or SoFi for doing that, because it takes like breaking these models to build them. But I definitely feel like there's going to be some pushback, which there has been with Robinhood anyway. Like that, the whole thing
Oh
was
yeah.
built on the fact of accessibility, right? And so I think if that's the case, then if it's like a SPV for the stock market, then that becomes interesting because in the end, you wouldn't be competing with that. It's a totally different thing. The people involved on this are totally different. And wouldn't it just drive the market value up for both sides? Like that would be the feeling.
Yeah, so just to finish that kind of structural thing with SPV, the idea would be Robinhood has access to, or guarantees to, or possession of some piece of OpenAI or SpaceX equity. Instead of creating a standard SPV for a standard company and like manually doing the admin for each investor, they've created a digitally mediated, like mediated by software, and mediated by the blockchain mechanism for buying and selling ownership in this SPV, in this vehicle, right? I don't know if they're using an actual company structure, but they're using some legal structure to get you in. And so the difference is one of scale and one of liquidity, of one of ease of access. But it's basically the same thing. I think this is, as I said, not a difference in substance, it's a difference in scale. And I think there's really no reason to offer this product. And as you said, is this legal? And well, the EU, which is only available in Europe, the EU is investigating. It's unclear yet if it's going to hold water. We'll see.
Well, here's the thing. This is where it gets sketchy, is if they want to then sell on Robinhood the actual stocks, are they like being like, well, we already have this, now you're competing against this. That's where it becomes an issue, right? If you're competing with the actual stock and you're not actually, people are buying this instead of the actual stock, then I would say that there's an issue, probably there's a legality, because you're basically using the popularity of the company. It's like using IP that you don't own to get people to buy into your thing. Like that doesn't
but they do. But that's the thing. They do own the underlying
But if that's
asset,
the case, if you do own it,
they have guarantees over it, right? And so, but the concern by the company, like an OpenAI or SpaceX, is this is letting out pressure for their IPO, right? This is letting out demand because you can already own a piece, and it's setting a market value that is disconnected from the private valuations that
that's
VCs
what I'm
are
saying.
making. So that's the problem for the private companies. Yeah. The problem for the government is that it's risky. It's a risky asset. It's a risky vehicle. It's something that's unproven, that they haven't got their fingers in, and so now they're worried about quote unquote retail investors getting screwed.
I think it's something to look out for. I think again we're seeing kind of history being made. Clearly there's something there, and there's a need, right, and a gap, and breaking down the access points, which is always where innovation lies. So I don't think this model's going anywhere. It's more how will it land after a bunch of chaos?
The dream of blockchain has always been fractionalizing everything. And so Robinhood is bringing this to bear in a way that, the blockchain people have been dreaming about for a while. Well, that's our thoughts on Robinhood, SoFi, fractionalizing ownership of private equity. What do you guys think? Jump down in the comments and let us know your thoughts.